Namaskar, welcome to this recording about a very interesting topic with a very illustrious speaker that I have invited, and he has agreed kindly to come in this fireside chat. So we have with us Mr. D. Sivanandhan. He retired after an extremely illustrious IPS career as a DGP, Director General of Police of Maharashtra, holding many positions before that with high impact on the law and order situation in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, and many other parts of India. But what's absolutely fascinating, and what I invite all of you to listen to today, is what he did after he retired from a very illustrious career in the IPS. Because what he did is something I would encourage all of you who are watching to try and think about, reflect, see if you can do something like what he did after his retirement. And what we did is a story of amazing social impact. He founded a foundation called Roti Bank Foundation. The links to this foundation will be shared. It will be shared as part of the recording afterwards. You can look it up. I encourage all of you to look it up. But for today, let us listen to him firsthand on how he started this foundation, this amazing social enterprise. And then I'll ask him a few questions about his journey, his personal journey as he transitioned from a highly organized, structured police service into a less structured, a very different kind of an enterprise, which is a social enterprise. And then to end up, I will seek his advice to you. And I'll ask him a few questions about how you who are watching this at an early age or mid-age can start doing and think about something which he has done in his career. So with that, welcome, Mr. Sivanandhan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Sir. Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be talking to you.
Absolutely. And let me ask you a few questions. Start with the foundation itself. If you have to look back, maybe 2017-18 when you first started, okay, the first question was, what was the community need that you identified that helped you start this Roti Bank initiative?
I must say something about my background. I'm from Tamil Nadu and Coimbatore and from small villages. I stayed in my formative years. I've studied in Tamil. And then later I became a professor of economics in the University of Madras, and that is a college located in Coimbatore. While teaching economics to those young boys, I felt that I needed a little bit more challenging life, not a monotonous lecturing job. So I appeared for the UPSC exam in 1975. In the first attempt, I got selected in the IPS, even though I appeared for IAS, IFS and all other things. But in the first attempt, IPS looked very attractive. Then I joined and came to Maharashtra in 1976. And then I did 6 years in the IB, 6 years in the districts, and about 6 years as Commissioner of Police by the end of my career of Commissioner of Nagpur, Thane, Mumbai. Then the Director General of Police, where I was commanding 2.5 lakh of policemen and looking after the needs, security and law and order, crime management of 12 crores of people. After that, also I have worked in the National Security Advisor's Office under the PMO for 1 year, studying the national security requirements of the country, and we gave 300 recommendations to the PMO. I worked again after retirement with Dr. Raghuram Rajan when he was the governor of RBI as the chief security advisor to the RBI, and later I worked with the government in various other ways. I even worked as a chairman of a SIT, Special Investigation Team, appointed by the Madras High Court. So with this, I must say that changing the career after retirement came naturally. Like an eagle, at the middle of the career will go and remove the beak, the feathers, the claws, everything, and come back renewed for leading another half of the life. In the same way, I changed from police career to a corporate career. Now, I work in 10 companies as an independent director. And I also work as a trustee in the social sector, as you asked, in about 10 to 15 NGOs. For example, this Roti Bank is an NGO founded by me. One more is PCGT. I am the chairman of that. I work as a trustee in a NGO which is running a specially abled children's school in Nerul. Then there is a GVT working for the farmers development in Parli area of Beed Jilla. Like that, so many other things. I also run a company which is doing investigation and other things. Thus, my cup is full. My 24 hours is not enough even at the age of 74 plus. I am busy. So that is how I am into this social arena.
Thank you for that. Now, when you started Roti Bank, you would have set some goals, objectives, some deliverables, which I'm sure if I look back after 8 years, you would have probably exceeded far more.
Absolutely.
But how did you start, having identified the community needs, to set some goals, objective, how to progress?
Having stated about myself and my background, I must say what attracted me to this social sector activity. That is because, all my life I have seen poverty, hunger and all that during my formative years in Tamil Nadu. And also police, as you know, is an integral part of the society. I must say what attracted to me to this social sector activity, to give back to the society from where I have drawn so much resources when I was young and going to school and college and things like that. And the other thing is, I have seen utter poverty working against the morale of the people when I was in the police. So when I have seen poverty and how it can harm people's growth, I said, if the basic requirement is roti, kapada, makan. First is roti, and then only when we get roti, we look at our own kapada, and then only when we have this too, then we look over our head, a roof above our head. So that is why I got attracted. So my basic idea of starting this in the year 2018, January 1st, is basically to see that time about 200 million Indians were going without food and they were going hungry to bed. But to my utter surprise or utter shock, I found out where we were wasting millions of tons of cooked food because of the amount of food we wasted as a society in our marriages, functions, gatherings and various other activities was humongous. And almost it went into tons and tons of food where we were wasting in the hotels, 5-star hotels, 5-star marriages and things like that. So I started bridge between the required food requirement and the excess food which is going waste. So I started a Roti Bank with a dedicated number where they give a call to 86555800. One was the dedicated number. It is here mentioned. And then on a call, my vehicle will go and pick up the excess food. And there only within that radius of 30 minutes, we will distribute the food to the hungry people. For that, we have done hunger mapping. And so in Kandivali or in Cuttack or any place, if we get that food, in that area only, before the food gets contaminated, we used to supply. We didn't have refrigeration facility where we can preserve food and all, because we don't know when the leftover food is given to us, when it was cooked for the marriage or for party or for gathering or anything like that. So the mission basically we started was to save food which was going waste and give it to those poor needy people who are going with empty stomach. That was the mission. But later we changed. So this Roti Bank vision and mission went on changing, I must explain. I'll take a minute more to explain. Initially, as I said, it is basically to build a bridge between the food which was going waste in millions of tons and food, people requiring food and going hungry. That was the initial vision. But later, I told you we started in Jan 2018. March 2020, we have this COVID-19, which was a pandemic. And in that, everything was standstill all over the country. Whether millions were going hungry or billions were going hungry, it didn't matter. And at that time, unemployment was at its height. 800 million people were going hungry without a job and all that. And then again, a huge migration took place, if you all remember. That is from the south to north. Millions of workers were moving from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, going to UP, Bihar and other places. And please remember, March, April, May, people were walking on the main roads and on the rail roads with barefoot and no food, no water. So we started giving 47,000 meals we prepared only in Mumbai. Nagpur did more. But then we went to the railway stations, even to this IIT campus on a request from Professor Deb. We came and gave food to all those migrant laborers who were working here and getting stuck. Neither they could go home, nor they could indulge in gainful employment here. So with that, I want to address you, sir, that it is the challenge which came, for which our response should have been to shut down and sit at home, tremble and shiver and be there. Instead of that, we came out in the open. One day we were close. I thought about it. I said, this is an opportunity. This challenge is not to shut down. This challenge is to scale up. So in that, we found 4 restaurants which were closed by the government. The capacity was there, the people were there. So we gave them the rice, dal, oil and all that. They cooked 10,000 meals each. For example, your Midtown Preetham in Dadar, they cooked 10,000 meal. They had 22 workers doing nothing. And we took it to Dharavi and gave it to the police station, where they made the line, the 5 feet distance and the mask and things like that. And they gained goodwill. The local police station gained goodwill. And I fed 10,000 people a day. So this is how we scaled up. I also would like to say, as part of this discussion, that this is the time we founded various branches in Ahmedabad, Cuttack in Orissa, in Nagpur, and also in Hyderabad and Chennai and Coimbatore. So this I want to convey, that any challenge, any risk, any obstacle you face should be used as a stepping stone for scaling it up and coming up with the brilliant reply which the people expect. If you are afraid, if you are cowardly, you would be worried about COVID. I want to convey to all of you by saying, by taking this risk, by taking the cover, like insurance cover, and giving them my men, about 19-20 people were working in 20 vehicles and kitchen and cook and all that. None of them got affected by COVID, because we took adequate protection in spite of going into the red hot zones of Dharavi or Worli or Sion and other places. We protected ourselves, we safeguarded ourselves, and we gave food, which is the basic requirement for people to survive. That was a question of survival, and we took care of them.
Now, coming back to what we talk about in starting a company, starting a venture, is apart from the goals and deliverables, did you set some vision, mission, some values, some principles, so that whoever is working in this venture would abide by those principles? Otherwise, it becomes a bit of a free-for-all. Can you lose your path over the years?
Absolutely right. The core values for the Roti Bank, again, I must say my vision shifted as I moved along. I must say that before pre-COVID, we were picking up the food which was left over, and then it was total of 5 lakhs in the first year 18 and 5 lakhs in the year 19. So that was only 1 million meals. And there were so many challenges which we will discuss later. But then once we started with the COVID and with the kitchen, my own kitchen founded in Chembur and the borrowed kitchens and all that, I slowly started shifting my goal, vision, mission to take care of the children who are suffering from a thing called wasting and stunting. About 18.5 children suffer from wasting. What is wasting? Is the chest is shrunken to the actual size they should be there. That is the malnutrition impact. And stunting is where they become shorter in height, but actually the required height is not achieved. These two things are suffered by children affected by malnutrition. So my mission and my vision, as you asked me, got aligned with the government of India and other governments. Like Mr. Narendra Modi, our honorable PM, has started giving about 81 crores of people free grains for the last quite a few years, ever from the COVID started. Even the next 4-5 years he is giving at the cost of 2 lakh crores of rupees every year, and that is giving free grains. And this is building a new Bharat, healthy Bharat, Tandurust Bharat. So my vision aligned with that, and we started targeting the school children. Today in only Mumbai alone, if we say, in 27 schools, about 10 to 12,000 children are given meals once a day. And this is not ordinary meals we are giving. We are giving meals loaded with nutrition. In that is loaded with protein, calcium, magnesium, zinc, whatever is required as per the advice of a food technologist. We add that and give it to them. Now, what is the result? The result is children are growing well. There is no wasting, there is no stunting. And believe me, these 12,000 children are from the slum areas, from the bottommost community of our country. And if they do well, and if they become employable, they become bright, brilliant, and they get qualified and get attracted to school because of this healthy meal, then what else can we think of? My day is made. We are building a new Bharat as per the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. So this is a humble contribution from our side, because we have to cover the entire country. We are only doing that is a mission to be accomplished.
Okay, thank you. Now that you have understood a bit about how you started up, how did you actually increase in scale? Because first few months you would have been starting up, setting up the team, etc. But then when I look at it today, you are now touching millions of lives. So how did you scale up? What are the challenges? What are the problems operationally, financially, ensuring quality, freshness of the rotis and so on and so forth?
That's a very brilliant question, nostalgic for me, I must say, sir. During COVID, the main problem is getting permission to go out and move. But since I am the police commissioner, I asked the police commissioner, and this giving food is an emergency activity. We were getting exempted, and we had all the help from the local police, because local police had to contain the people, and the people were having no access to food. So the local police was too happy to help us to move and give food to all those needy people who were contained in red hot zones, for example, Dharavi I mentioned. Besides that, the movement and procurement and cooking and delivery, all this was a challenge. Resources is always a challenge for us, because when you scale up and come down to 20 million meals we have given so far, a meal costs about 40 rupees. So total outlay, you can say, is 80 crores. Now where does the money come from? It has to come from CSR and friends and various others who are contributing. That is where I am appealing to all of you, be our goodwill ambassadors and spread the good word that we have to make our country more healthy. The children have to study well and they come up. The problems we faced is basically none of the hotels, particularly the 5-star variety, would give spare meals to us, because they were afraid of litigation. They were afraid of a criminal case. What is a criminal case all about in supplying food? Because if you give food which was produced and stored and given as an unsold item, it could get contaminated, and with that, if someone gets admitted in the hospital, you are criminally liable. I am criminally liable, so the hotels did not want to do that. I told them, okay, I will give you a guarantee that criminally, legally, I am responsible once the food goes out of your doorstep. They said, no, we have to suffer a reputational loss. So we don't want to give you food. As a policy, before, now and later, that was a challenge. The second challenge is, how do you guarantee in a marriage or in any household function that the entire meal, like rice, roti, dal, sabji, this will be spared for you? No. Maybe there is no rice and roti. We get only the sabji and dal and things like that. Now, how do I supply that instantly there? Means it is an incomplete meal. I have to supply a complete meal. A minimum, let us say, is rice and dal or sabji and roti. A combination had to be served. That was another challenge for us. And going, up and down in a big city like that on a call and going and finding little disappointing quantity of food was also another challenge. Again, I am repeating, raising resources to the required level of the demand of food is also a challenge. But with my name and reputation and my reach, we are getting much more than adequate resources as a funding from corporate houses and from individuals and friends like that. Thank God there is so much generosity in the society, not only in Mumbai, in the entire country. Whatever they annadan, that if they can't do it, they get it done through a reliable people like us. The trust matters a lot.
Now, if you look today, we looked at the journey of Roti Bank over the last 8 years. But if you look today, what would you say would be the impact that Roti Bank has had in the last almost getting to be 10 years now, in the last 8 years?
I'm so very happy to answer this question. I mentioned earlier that before COVID, we could give only 1 million meals managed to scrap from the marriages and other places. But once we started the kitchen of our own during COVID, sky became the limit. We borrowed additional capacity from 4 of the hotels for a short time, and then we started 7 chapters in Cuttack, Orissa, Nagpur and other places. So this was the capacity building we could do. But what is the figure? What is the impact? What is the effect we have seen? Is in this few years, from 18 to 24-25, we have covered 20 million people. Out of that, I must say about 75% of the beneficiaries are school children. I mentioned repeatedly about the hunger index of the country. Do you know, after 75 years of Amrit Kal and things like that, in the world hunger index, we are 105 out of 125 countries. We have a long way to go. Our economy is the 5th biggest economy. We're talking about $5 trillion and things like that. But the basic requirement for food by the people is very, very, very big. Particularly, I'm emphasizing on the school children, the villages and the remote areas. The children have no access to apples, oranges and all that. The rich kids in Malabar Hill and other places, they suffer from indigestion, whereas the children of our country who are supposed to eat well and grow well have no access to food at all. So these are all the challenges which we saw. But I want to mention about the impact, that is, with this kind of an organization, we could reach up to 20 million, that is 2 crores of people. If we multiply with 40 rupees a basic meal cost, the impact is about 80 crores. As I mentioned earlier, lots of headmasters and principals will certify that the school attendance has improved. Many children come only to eat food. Can you believe that? That's a country. You can't believe. Many of the rich people and the urban people will not believe that many children come to school only because food is given to them. But incidentally, they pick up the subject and study well also. So my day is made. My life's mission is achieved when I know that these children are doing well. They are getting attracted to the school because the food is attracting them.
Thank you, Mr. Sivanandhan. We have now talked about Roti Bank, the initiative. If you give me permission, I'll ask you a few questions about yourself, your journey. How did you transition from being a very illustrious, successful, impactful IPS officer at the topmost level to a social venture head where things are far less structured? The resources are much less and so on. So how did you feel mentally to make that transition? Because it can help those who are watching,
yes, sir,
to transition from one career, wherever they are, to another, or even do it part-time.
Yes, sir. You know, the illustrious career happened because of God's grace. I said we must do something to make the fire in the belly of these poor children to glow so that they become achievers, let us say like me or like you or like anybody, so that we can produce or we can nurture, we can create and we can develop the innate intelligence which is hidden in the children who are poor and who cannot afford education. So that is the reason why we have started this and why we are doing that. So you retired with the illustrious career. So what? As you know, we live long enough. Earlier times when I was a student, the average life was 42 years of an Indian. Now it is 72. People like me and you, sir, would live for 85 years minimum. Now what do you do after 60 years for about 25, 30 years? It has to be productive. You cannot be just ruminating about your illustrious career. You have to use the illustrious career and do something to return to the society. I also mentioned when we were talking before that I built a school in Thane, 70,000 square feet and 3,000 children study, and by the end of the 10th standard, they get only distinction and first class. One or two will get second class, no fail at all. And this is happening since 2006. That's what we contribute to the society. That is how we build people. You know, in the IPS, the resources is that the circumstances, change anytime. Resources were limited because the budgetary provision is less. Whereas here, the resources are zero to start with. But if you prove your credibility, your trustworthiness, your administrative cost, for example, my administrative cost is 5%. When you give 100 rupees, 95 rupees worth of food goes to the poor children's plates. Whereas in the government, resources is less, but it comes from the budget. But then, thanks to this PPP model, where you can take resources in the police and make welfare schemes for the policemen. The same thing which I learnt earlier. I built a school in Gadchiroli, one in Chandrapur, one in Thane. I built 30 gymnasiums in Mumbai, and then so many such, for example, a hospital in Thane, 5.5 crores worth, and also 2 restaurants. Urjita Energy is a restaurant even now running on this model. I build and give it to a private person, and then they sell at a concessional price to police and normal price to the others. That's what's happening in Thane Police School. So if that is the kind of a thing if you do, you will not face any resource crunch at all. Again, I am emphasizing to you, my dear young viewers, it is the integrity, it is the honesty, it is the reputation. If we want to contribute to the society and don't live upon this resource, then I want to say that people are very, very generous and this resource crunch is not a major issue at all.
Thank you. I think that's amazing. Now the next question is, did you adopt a different leadership style? We have a lot of young leaders here, young professionals, faculty members, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs who will be watching this. And they have their own leadership style wherever they are. But is there a different leadership style that you adopted when you work with large bodies of police force versus when you are leading smaller but more social impact? Did you change your leadership style? And how can the watchers learn about being situational leader? You do one kind of leadership and then you change to another kind of leadership. So how do you adopt your leadership?
Absolutely. That's a brilliant question, sir. The answer is, even in that police leadership also, the strategies and leadership style has to change from geography to circumstance to circumstance. For example, so the strategy has to vary in corporates, in different segments of life, in the police or in the IAS or in the development or anything like that. In the same way, here also, we have to go on changing the strategies and our approach. Ultimately, it is to build a Naya Bharat and a Tandurust Bharat. For that, my life in the police had to be left behind and come here and wear a benign approach and see that the public goodwill is resulting in our contribution, and thus we could scale up.
Now, if you have to look back in your last 8 years, we know what the foundation has done. But how do you feel, Mr. Sivanandhan? How do you feel emotionally? Because, you're doing something for the country, you're doing something for crores of underprivileged, And I think it's very important that our watchers understand the importance of whatever you feel, satisfaction, contribution, whatever. So say a few words about how you feel.
Yes, sir. Wow, that is a very, very, they say, Annadata Sukhi Bhava. So if I am giving, let us say, 20 million meals, if I have given in the last 7-8 years, then I'm sure my impact is that I sleep very well. The other one, to be very practical and give you the correct answer, is that we give food to those patients and the attendants and others who are thronging around the Tata Cancer Hospital. 2 meals we give. Fully prepared new brand hot meals we give, 12:30 and 5:30. Those are people who have come from all over the country, Assam, Manipur, Tripura, Jammu Kashmir, and people like that. They are all on the footpath. When we give food to them, we are touching a very, very soft area of their lives. And we are taking care of them and we are giving them good food. We give rice, roti, dal, sabji, banana and water. 6 items we give them twice a day. And we also do at KEM Hospital. I am appealing to all of you, whoever has access to Mumbai, please do go and visit these areas at 12:30 and 5:30 and start serving food. That's one voluntary work you could do. You don't have to give me money, but you go there and take pictures and put it in the social media. That's also a great contribution. So that way, the impact is absolutely visible and we are touching the lives of the people. We save lives of people also.
Thank you. I think this was and is, and I hope it will be for a long time, a very satisfying personal journey for you.
Yes.
And I'm sure that if I look ahead, 2030, 2031, 32, as long as you are, we'll see far more of Roti Bank and this impact. What I'd now like to ask you are a few advice that you may want to offer to all who are watching, and there will be a mix of students who are faculty, who may be young professionals, entrepreneurs, etc. What would be your advice to them, first of all, in terms of balancing their professional careers, be it they may be, a manager, a faculty, a businessman, whatever. How do they balance that commercial or academic interest with an agenda of social contribution or national building or helping the underprivileged? Because they're quite different. What would be your advice to them, whether they're working part-time on a social agenda or full-time on a social agenda? How do they balance these two different agendas? Because you have done it so well in terms of managing two different agendas, two different parts of your life.
As I said, as we are growing towards prosperity, the economic disparity is growing. So all of you people who are more fortunate can share one meal at least a week with a poor person. Make a small packet and go and give it to them without adding to the plastic waste we should not generate. For example, we don't produce anything in plastic and give it to them. We don't generate plastic waste at all. So that is one thing you can give, or you can find out a school where you can go and either start teaching 1 hour in a week or feeding few people. You can do my goodwill ambassador. You can be my social media people who can visit the Roti Bank website. It is www.rotibankindia.org, or see in the Instagram. Brilliant videos are being produced and uploaded. See and support us. And the last is, if you can see the QR code in all these social media accounts and the monthly magazine and things like that, you could contribute even 5 rupees, 10 rupees. One meal costs only 40 rupees. So even if somebody gives me only 40 rupees through the QR code, one full meal of adequate rice, roti, dal, sabji, banana, water is given to a poor people. You can participate in that. Please do that. Be the change agent. Be the disruptor. Be the catalyst. You can do that.
What would be your advice to all the young people in terms of starting today? What are the kind of leadership skills that they can develop? I mean, you've been a leader of different types. and there are maybe 19-year-old, 21-year-old, 25-year-olds who are this thing. What would be your advice on day-to-day basis? How can they practice to be a leader? You know, a courageous leader, socially conscious leader.
You know, this leadership thing is situational leadership, as you said in when we were discussing. That is, you become an IAS, IPS officer or a corporate CEO or whatever you are, CXO, whatever it is. These are coming with the position. You have the power, you have the authority, you have a leadership thing. Now, what makes you successful is that the honesty, the integrity and the purpose for which you do. I will say the take home, the people who are listening, youngsters who are listening to me, I will give my mantra of success. How did I become what I am today? Is because of 7 words which I imbibed in my life. That is my advice also to the people. That is, have a great vision about yourself. Vision. Passion. That is 100% lage rehna munna bhai. Passion. Lage rehna hai. Do that. And the next one is character. Integrity, honesty. So I have spoken about vision, I have spoken about passion, I have spoken about character. Next one is the courage. So I am talking about vision, passion, courage, and then character, and then competence. You are getting all necessary competence. You have to pick up and study and qualify yourselves. That is the competence. Self-image is the 6th one. I have spoken about vision, I have spoken about passion, courage, character, competence, self-image. The last but not the least is the discipline. It is a discipline which makes a warrior, a policeman and the corporate honcho and various others distinguished. So this is my advice to the people that who are listening to me, that you have to imbibe these qualities. You know, being a corporate CEO or a corporate honcho or a police leader or a political leader, these are all more or less the same. Can you be honest and be sincere to your consumer in a CEO's position? Can we not try and not to cheat them? Let us say in a consumer industry where the products, where can you go to the shop and buy any product which is not adulterated, which is not sold you underweight? For example, you buy a kilo, 5-10 grams will be less. If that is the kind of integrity and honesty you maintain, and if that is the kind of honesty and integrity you maintain in the government service, all of them, we will be marching together. Like our Prime Minister says, Vasudevam Kutumbagam. You know, if that is the kind of motto, then definitely this shortage of integrity or honesty should not be a problem at all. You know, we should look forward that everyone is a change agent. Everyone is a catalyst.
So thank you. Now we have covered the journey of Roti Bank. We have covered your personal journey. And we have heard a little bit about how our listeners can actually develop their leadership skills, become more broad-based and become socially aware. Couple of questions on how can everybody who is watching in their own capacity, whichever part of India they are, how can they actually engage with the Roti Bank Foundation? How can they help, either in terms of time or something new that they do or extending the reach, etc. So how can they engage if they want to?
Roti Bank is one you can engage and support by creating more Roti Banks all over the place. Maybe you don't have to give millions of meals everywhere, but looking at our success and the publicity we received, there are a lot of people who have started Roti Banks in Tinsukia, Ara in Bihar, in Jalandhar and various places like that. I said encourage. I want all of you to appreciate that there is no competition. Running an NGO and feeding people, I want more competition actually. People come and contribute more and more in their own way, with their own branding, with their own image. And if that is done, definitely you can contribute. You can contribute by looking at our QR code and the banking details I can give. And you can contribute even much less, whatever is less, 50 rupees, 40 rupees is also fine. One full meal will come to a patient or anybody like that. So all this, and you can be a social media warrior for me. You know, visit the social media handles of the Roti Bank. And please say thumbs up to the activities which they are doing, and that should be also a big help. Let us spread the message. The last but not the least, the request is kindly don't waste food. You know, many people don't get food. When you pick up food in a buffet, in a marriage or in a hotel, You take only that much which you can eat, My request to you is focus on your studies, become a big leader and contribute and all that. To start with, the next meal when you go and help yourself, kindly don't waste, because food is a resource which is not available to the all others. Sub-Saharan Africa or even in India, many people are not getting food at all. If they get, which is useless food they get, because of that they suffer from anemia. Can you believe 58% of women in India suffer from anemia, and 38.5% of the children suffer from stunting, and 19% of children suffer from wasting and things like that. Let us help by not wasting food. Don't order excess food and then throw it away in the dustbin. That is my my request to contribute. Of course, you can start a roti bank on your own. Whatever wherewithal, whatever help, whatever other things you need, we can provide to you. That is how I have started the branches in Cuttack, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Chennai and Coimbatore and places like that. But we can help, but then it should be self-sufficient.
The flip side, of course, is if they engage with a social foundation like Roti Bank, they will be thinking, what's in it for me? I'm already studying, I'm already teaching, I'm already have a job. So what's in it for me? And can you say a little bit about how it helps them probably lead a better life, a broader life, a more satisfying life? Whatever you think they can benefit in terms of engaging with Roti Bank. What's in it for them if they do engage?
One thing is the satisfaction which you see in the eyes of the people who are hungry and when they eat food. That is the thing. And as the Purana, Vedas, Upanishad will tell you, when you give food, you reach up to Bhagwan, So as I mentioned earlier, Annadata Sukhi Bhava is a blessing you will get. Besides all that, if you are a student and if you do a certain number of programmed service, one can get a certificate with that. Getting into the US or something like that will be facilitated, not be 100% you will get, but it can be facilitated. And also you can contribute towards the building of the society. And we have come from that kind of a background. We have lifted ourselves out of the morass. Then we can help others and you get help. It is like giving a scholarship. I do give a scholarship to so many people. So the education which I was not getting it, they are getting it. In the same way, here also, definitely, it personally improves your satisfactory level, your sleep is good, you feel good factor. What is that dopamine or whatever, all melatonin or whatever you are saying, all that you are going to get because you are indulging in a good deed. Every day, one good deed will make you a better person. And as a personality develops, you are going to be a great leader. Maybe you will become an Abdul Kalam or anybody like that, Atal Bihari Vajpayee or anybody like that. For that, the first stepping stone is to go and feel empathetic towards a poor person who doesn't have a meal. So if you do that, your personal growth is guaranteed, your personal hygiene is, mental hygiene is thing, you go sleep well, you do well in your exam, the blessings, 33 crores of gods will tell you, Tatastu, you become a great man. Getting into universities and others because you are getting a certificate for having done a good deed is also an additional attraction.
Okay, so I think thank you so much for your perspective on the foundation, on how the listeners can benefit, how they can engage your own journey. Would you like to offer any concluding remarks which sums up everything that we have said? But before I hand over to you, I would like, on behalf of all our participants and on behalf of IIT Bombay, to thank you very much for being here and recording this so the message can spread. Over to you for any concluding remarks.
This is outside of my remit. That is not, I'm not talking about Roti Bank. I'm talking about a person who has gone into the IPS, became everything what can become, and got a good name also in the bargain because of the honesty, integrity, and things like that. My advice to all these youngsters, a few thousand youngsters who are watching this, is that you have to suffer from hard work. Nobody has died of hard work at all. On the other hand, Fire in the belly is what has been made. Warren Buffett, if you say, he says, 14 years I started investing. No, I should have started at the age of 7. Look at the fire in the belly. And Julius Caesar or Napoleon or even Adolf Hitler, they all began at the lowest rung in the army. And then they grew into king emperors or emperors of this country. So if that is it, you can do well. What do you want? I mentioned, how do you become an Abdul Kalam or the PM of the country? Is with vision, passion, courage, character, competence, self-image and discipline, which I have mentioned to you already. Thank you so much.